Good evening. Tonight, we're exposing a crisis that touches every American: the breakdown of global trade. The system that delivers your coffee, your phone, your clothes, right now, it's seizing up. U.S. shipments have halted at 7 critical ports, paralyzing commerce and sending shockwaves through businesses and families. This isn't just about economics, it's about jobs lost, shelves empty, and prices rising. We'll break down what's happening at each port, why it matters, and how it impacts you. Let's dive into the heart of America's supply chain chaos. We begin our journey at the Port of Los Angeles, a sprawling complex that serves as the beating heart of American trade. This is the busiest container port in the Western Hemisphere, a place where the world's goods flow in and out, connecting continents and economies. But tonight, the port is at a standstill. Offshore, it's a floating parking lot. Hundreds of massive ships anchored in limbo, their cargo stranded just out of reach. Each vessel represents millions of dollars in goods, waiting for a chance to dock. The cause? A severe dock worker shortage driven by tense and protracted labor negotiations. With fewer hands on deck, operations have slowed to a crawl, leaving cranes idle and terminals eerily quiet. Unions are demanding better pay and improved working conditions, while port authorities plead for a swift resolution as the economic toll grows heavier by the day. The standoff has become a high-stakes game with no easy answers. Nearly 40% of all U.S. containerized imports pass through these docks. When the Port of LA grinds to a halt, the ripple effects are felt instantly across the entire nation, from coast to coast. Companies that rely on just-in-time inventory are especially vulnerable. Critical parts and products are stuck at sea, forcing factories to slow down or shut their doors entirely. The supply chain, once a marvel of efficiency, is now a source of anxiety. The entire logistics network is under immense strain. Chassis to move containers are scarce, warehouses are overflowing, and truckers wait for hours, sometimes all day, only to leave empty-handed. Every link in the chain is stretched to its breaking point. This is more than a simple bottleneck. It's a system-wide failure, exposing the fragility of the networks we depend on every day. Small businesses, already battered by years of uncertainty, are now on the brink of collapse. For many, the next shipment could mean survival or closure. One Burbank shop owner's entire season's inventory is stranded at sea. With empty shelves and mounting bills, her future and the future of her employees hangs in the balance. The human cost is mounting. Workers, truckers, and business owners are caught in the crossfire, their livelihoods threatened by forces beyond their control. Official optimism can't mask the reality on the ground. Frustration, anger, and inequality are boiling over as those who keep the system running feel left behind. Meanwhile, shipping giants are posting record profits, even as local livelihoods hang by a thread. The gap between corporate success and community struggle has never been more stark. The Port of Los Angeles stands at the epicenter of this disruption, a stark reminder of just how dependent we are on fragile global systems that can break down in an instant. The ship's lights glowing offshore at night are a haunting symbol, each one a promise delayed, a connection severed, and a reminder of how quickly the flow of goods can stop. American families and businesses are left to pick up the pieces, improvising and adapting as best they can, while waiting for relief that may not come soon. The crisis here is a warning to us all. When the arteries of trade clog, the entire nation suffers. Our prosperity is more fragile than we like to admit. The stakes couldn't be higher. The world is watching, anxious for a solution. And so are we, as we wait to see what happens next at the Port of Los Angeles. Just south, the Port of Long Beach faces the same paralysis. Intertwined with LA, a crisis in one means a crisis for both. Labor disputes and equipment shortages have choked off supply lines, especially for industries relying on raw materials. Attempts at 24/7 operations and tech fixes are overwhelmed by the sheer scale of the backlog. Some shipping lines are now bypassing Southern California entirely, spreading congestion to other U.S. ports. Idling ships worsen air pollution, putting local communities at risk. Workers describe helplessness and stress as pressure mounts from all sides. The human toll is real. This is more than an economic story. Long Beach's gridlock shows how a single point of failure can cascade nationwide. The story here is not separate from LA, it's the same crisis amplified. Two giants both brought to a standstill, and the ripple effects are everywhere. On the East Coast, the Port of New York and New Jersey is now overwhelmed, facing a tidal wave of cargo it was never designed to handle at this scale. Once a symbol of American ingenuity and global reach, The port is now buckling under the weight of modern trade demands. Once a reliable alternative to West Coast bottlenecks, it's now gridlocked by diverted cargo, urban constraints, and a surge in imports that has pushed the system to its breaking point. Ships wait offshore for days, sometimes weeks, just to unload. Space is at a premium. Every available inch is packed with containers. When the system backs up, the whole region feels the ripple effects. Delays cascade from the docks to warehouses to store shelves and into everyday life. A flood of imports has left American exporters stranded. Empty containers are rushed back to Asia to chase higher profits, leaving U.S. goods from soybeans to corn to rot in silos and storage facilities across the heartland. Farmers can't ship their harvests. Exporters are shut out of global markets, watching their livelihoods slip away as their products sit idle, unable to reach buyers overseas. Outdated infrastructure, cranes, docks, and terminals can't handle today's megaships or the relentless surges in cargo volume. Modern vessels dwarf the port's aging equipment, making every operation slower and more difficult. Truck traffic snarls the highways with miles-long backups stretching into the city. Workers on the docks are burning out under relentless pressure, struggling to keep up with the unending flow of containers. With contract talks looming and labor tensions rising, the threat of even more disruption hangs over the port, adding uncertainty to an already fragile situation. This is a crisis of capacity. 21st century trade meets 20th century infrastructure, and the mismatch is glaring. The port simply can't keep up with the demands of the global economy. The port's gridlock is a choke point with national consequences, slowing the movement of goods not just for the region but for the entire country. Urban density, trade imbalances, and aging systems have collided in a perfect storm, exposing vulnerabilities that threaten the flow of commerce. The result, a vital artery of commerce blocked with ships and cargo stranded, waiting for relief that may not come soon. And the nation feels the pain, as supply chain shocks ripple from the port to homes and businesses across America, reminding us just how fragile our global connections can be. In Georgia, the Port of Savannah's rapid growth has become its Achilles heel. Once celebrated as a model of efficiency and expansion, the port now finds itself at the center of a logistical storm. Diverted ships from other coasts have turned a manageable flow into a flood. Vessels that once docked on schedule now wait days offshore, creating a floating traffic jam that stretches for miles. The port's infrastructure is overwhelmed. Containers pile up, waiting for inland transport that's nowhere to be found. Storage yards overflow and the backlog grows with each passing day. Not enough train crews, truck drivers, or warehouse space, goods sit idle for weeks. The entire supply chain slows as critical links break down under the pressure. The Southeast's factories and farms depend on Savannah. Now, production lines slow and exports stall. From car parts to fresh produce, delays ripple out, impacting businesses large and small. Pop-up container yards help, but can't keep pace with demand. These temporary fixes offer some relief, but the sheer volume of goods overwhelms every new solution. Local communities face noise, pollution, and gridlock as truck traffic surges. Residents worry about safety, air quality, and the changing character of their neighborhoods. Economic growth now clashes with quality of life. The prosperity the port brings is undeniable, but so are the challenges it creates for those living nearby. Savannah's story is a warning. Even modern ports can break under global strain. The world's interconnected trade system means that problems elsewhere quickly become local crises. The crisis here isn't from lack of investment, but from cascading failures elsewhere. When one link falters, the effects are felt thousands of miles away. Savannah is stretched to its limit. Every day, workers and officials scramble to keep goods moving, but the strain is visible everywhere you look. And the chain is only as strong as its weakest link. In Savannah, that weakness is now impossible to ignore. In Houston, the crisis takes on a new dimension. This port is the backbone of America's energy and petrochemical trade. Now, container ships diverted from the West Coast compete for space with oil and chemical tankers. The Houston ship channel is jammed, mixing vessel types and raising safety risks. When shipments halt here, it's not just store shelves at risk. It's the raw materials for industry and agriculture. Plastics, chemicals, and fuels are stuck, threatening manufacturing and export contracts. Global energy uncertainty makes these delays even more dangerous. Local infrastructure is overwhelmed. Traffic and rail backups ripple across the region. A hurricane now could turn crisis into catastrophe. Federal planners are on edge. Houston's gridlock is a silent but serious threat to U.S. industry and energy security. The stakes go far beyond consumer goods. The nation's industrial heart is under strain. Up north, the port of Seattle, once a stable alternative, is now overwhelmed by diverted ships. The sudden influx has created a backlog in Puget Sound, straining the region's logistics. Seattle is a key export hub for American agriculture, but shipping lines rush empty containers back to Asia, leaving U.S. goods stranded. Farmers watch their products spoil as ships sit just out of reach. The city's geography and limited rail links make expansion tough. Congestion spreads quickly. Labor tensions simmer with workers facing long hours and tough conditions. Solidarity with California dock workers raises the risk of wider labor actions. Seattle's crisis shows how interconnected the system is. One port's problem becomes everyone's. The supply chain is only as strong as its weakest link. Exports stall, imports clog, and the region feels the squeeze. No port is immune, the strain is everywhere. In Miami, the crisis hits both trade and tourism. Aggressively marketed as an alternative for Asian cargo, Miami now faces a surge it can't handle. Terminals are jammed and competition between cargo and cruise ships is fierce. Miami's role as a gateway to Latin America means delays ripple across the hemisphere. U.S. businesses and Latin American partners face mounting delays and lost confidence. South Florida's limited transport corridors amplify the congestion. Perishable imports spoil, leading to shortages and higher prices across the East Coast. Miami's gridlock is a microcosm of the national crisis. Global problems have local consequences, the final link in a chain pushed to the breaking point. We've seen America's ports, each unique, all in crisis. This isn't just about ships, it's about jobs, prices, and the nation's economic health. Our just-in-time supply chains have proven dangerously fragile. Labor disputes, outdated infrastructure, and surging demand have brought the system to its knees. The consequences: higher prices, empty shelves, and threats to energy and industry. Fixing this demands more than quick patches. It requires investment, fair labor solutions, and a strategic rethink of our supply chains. The path forward is tough, but inaction is costlier. America's future depends on restoring these vital gateways. Thank you for watching.